Welcome back to a brand new TV show spoiler review here on Max Talks Movies. Today, we're going to break down season 4 and the series finale of Barry on HBO. It's just wrapped up. It's run on both HBO Max, and ended up finishing on Max this past Sunday night. My name is Max Dinenberg. Welcome to Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinenberg. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Max Talk Movies. We just hit over 150 subscribers. We're 7 away from 160. So please click that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications to notify you when more videos drop. We do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, and starting back up again next week will be my new box office breakdown show every single Monday. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new to the channel, comment down below. First of all, have you seen, well, obviously, if you've seen Barry, we're going to talk spoilers here, but what are your thoughts on season 4 of Barry? Was this your favorite, least favorite season? Did you like where the show ended? Do you think this is the last thing we'll ever see from this show or these characters themselves? And also, please like the video, the thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. So, as I said, because we're basically in season 4 at this point, and I waited to do this review until after the full 8 episodes are done, this will be a full spoiler review for Barry. So if you haven't seen the show at all, I would go away. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite shows ever for me. I really do adore the show. So if you haven't seen Barry at all, I would definitely go check it out. If you've only seen up to season 4, you were kind of up to season 4, like you've seen the first 3 seasons, you were kind of waiting to binge the show. This is a full spoiler review of season 4. So, and we're really going to dive into obviously the finale the most, as that's how we'll break down kind of the conclusion of the show. So that's your spoiler warning for Barry season 4, and let's get into it. So overall, I thought this was a fantastic way to close out the show. Writer, creator, producer, and lead star Bill Hader, who has directed multiple episodes in the last couple of seasons, took on the task of directing all 8 episodes of the show, of the season this year. And I think one of the biggest things that I think stands out to a lot of people is that Barry is definitely not in the show as much as compared to the previous 3 seasons, especially down the home stretch of the show, especially episodes 6, 7, where he's really just not in the show that much. But that doesn't deny that Bill Hader is truly a magician on the show, as the dialogue is as good as always. The direction, I think, is what is the biggest takeaway from a Bill Hader perspective. Obviously, we'll get into his performance, especially in the first half of the season. But his direction is incredible. We always kind of saw that, but him getting to do every episode and have a consistent through line with him writing it, him starring in it, and him directing it really comes on screen. But overall, this, for me, was a fantastic season. Now, I don't know where it ranks for me out of the entire ranking each season by season. I think it's really tough because, again, I adore all 4 seasons of this show on HBO. This is also 8 episodes only. The first season was also 8 episodes. So was the second, and so was the third. So they're all 8 episodes. They're around 30 minutes again this season, which I do think is another whole topic conversation as it comes to Barry, especially for me when it comes to awards season. And I think a lot of people just don't think 30-minute television, even 45-minute television, is long enough for these shows, especially shows with season finales, series finales, season finales, all those type of things. And I think that topic really came up with Marvel, how they were 6 to 8 episodes and only 40 to 45 minutes, and how that's just not enough time for story. We also get into a show like Ted Lasso, which used to be kind of a 30 to 45-minute comedy, grew into now over an hour episode for the finale, which we'll get into tomorrow here on the channel. But this show, all the way through all of the episodes in every season, was basically 35 minutes was the longest this season. 26 minutes was the shortest episode. That was the first episode of the season, and the longest episode being 34 minutes, which was the season finale and episode 4. So this show is extremely efficient, and I feel like they do pack in a lot in a good way in 30 minutes of television, because it is extremely hard, especially these days where feels like all the TV shows these days are in that 45 to hour plus runtime mark. And if people have just come to normalize that as television, I think what Barry does, a lot of other comedic shows that are going to be up for the Emmys later in the year, like Elementary, The Bear, stuff like that, they're 30-minute shows, which I think have become really rare and tough to accomplish. Especially, this is only 8 episodes. This is not 10 to 12 episodes. This is 8 episodes. and it feels like everything fit. There didn't be anything that really dragged on. I do think it's an extremely special part of the show that, yeah, because it's the series finale, I think a lot of people might have thought, well, they'll maybe go 45, maybe go an hour because this is wrapping up an entire show. But the show sticks to its guns, which is 4-minute episode, which I thought was a great episode. But overall, a lot happened in the season. Barry obviously got caught at the end of season 3 with the help of Jim Moss and Gene Cousineau, which sets him up for this season of the show. And Barry's in prison for the first couple episodes of the show. So we'll go kind of story by story, which is going to be tough, but we'll do it as efficiently as possible for the video length here. But Barry is in prison with Fuchs, and this is where Barry signs a deal. Was about to have a deal with the FBI, and he basically exposes Hank and his whole operation and things like that. At the same time, Sally is kind of completely fallen apart at the beginning of this season, where not just was she caught on video just screaming at her coworker, now she's also someone who was dating basically a serial killer. And she was a total mess in the first couple of episodes of the show. And we get to a point where, Barry escapes prison, and the place where he goes to is Sally's house. And he's like, let's just go. And they're both kind of done because Sally, under her breath, and they're meeting in prison, when Sally was a guest, said that she does actually feel safe around Barry. And Barry took that to heart, went back to Sally's house, and they go off. And that's where they are for the majority of the season. We're going to talk about what leads into the 8-year time jump that the show daringly takes halfway through the season. Hank and Cristobal are running their operation, which revolves around sand this season. The Dave and Buster scene has become one of the most iconic scenes on the show, and easily one of the funniest things I've seen on television all year long so far. But their whole thing is with Hank and Cristobal, and it's all really great. They're back together. And then at some point, Hank, he wants to get Barry out of Cristobal in the first couple episodes. And then when Fuchs basically tells him I took a deal with the FBI, Hank wants to kill Barry, which obviously does not go well because Barry escapes prison. After all of that hard work, Hank is kind of desperate. His family, basically, the crime family, is kind of back. And he basically gave him a choice: we can kill you, or you basically take back over LA. And Hank does by sacrificing all of his people in this amazing sand sequence. Cristobal is left alive for a reason, because obviously Hank does not want Cristobal dead. And Cristobal obviously does not very happy with Hank. He walks out the door. A jaw-dropping performance from Anthony Carrigan, who, for me, him and Sarah Goldberg, for me, were the MVPs of season 4 of Barry. They were fantastic. And in that scene with Hank and Cristobal leading to Cristobal's death was a phenomenal performance. I think it's the most well-acted scene in the entire season 4 of Barry. It's a marvelous performance. Hank's great this season. Obviously, he can be very over the top and comedic, but there's a lot of more grounded to him, a lot more emotion that comes out of that character. And he might do some really bad things, but for some reason, you are really pulling for him. And I think that really comes over with the performance from Carrigan this season. So Cristobal dies. At the same time, Fuchs is still in prison, and Cousineau is pondering over telling the LA some articles about what actually happened, what actually happened in his mind. He shoots his son by accident. He goes away realizing when Barry is escaping prison, obviously thinking Barry's going to go after him, and that does not happen. So Gene's in his house, in his lodge, and someone's at the door. It's actually his son. He shoots him by accident. Doesn't kill him, but that just sets up more animosity. Then we take halfway through the season, we take a 8-year time jump, which I think was really ballsy. I thought they were doing it for it could be like a dream sequence, but it really was an 8-year time jump for all the characters. Fuchs comes out of prison, tatted up. Hank has his own organization going. And then Barry, Sally, and now their son, John, have found themselves in their own secluded part of wherever they were. And Barry's kind of very closed off. He's taken on religion a lot more. He's not obviously killing people anymore. Sally has a job wearing a wig, and all these different things are going on. Let's talk about what culminates in the season finale to wrap this up. The season finale, which I thought was quite excellent. Obviously, Hank captures Sally and John towards at the end of episode 7 of this season. And obviously, Barry is on his way to get him after he escapes Jim Moss's house. At the same time, obviously, Jim Moss And those people, exposed Gene Cousineau last week in their own way, which is the falseness of the fact that they thought Gene is the one who set up Barry to kill Janice, which obviously did not happen. But obviously, Gene actually did take the $250,000 that Barry gave him in the last season and used it even to buy the son's house. So there's a lot of interesting things in there. But this all culminates with Fuchs, Hank calling out Fuchs if you forget what you want, and Hank and Fuchs has this really amazing scene. Obviously, they have John and Sally captured, where Fuchs even stops himself and says, "Right now, I don't even care about Barry anymore. I'll I'll pull out of this deal completely. You'll never see me again if you could just admit you had a part in the killing of Cristobal." And he said, "We all messed up, all these things," and Hank's crying, and Hank's like, "F you, F this deal, we're done." And then everyone just starts shooting each other, but it does lead to Hank's death at the end of this season. A lot of people are hilariously alive. Before this, also, Barry goes to that same Walmart, I guess he kind of went to a couple weeks ago. And it was a haunting, dark comedic scene where Barry gets the guns and he like straps into this back like he's a military guy, which he was. And he walks out of the store. No one looks his way. It's just normal. And it's a haunting scene, I think, of the harsh realities of still where we are as a country, where for a lot of places that is normal to walk around with those type of guns behind your back, and for not to be a problem. Obviously, there was a dark comedy element of him trying to get into the car with the gun strapped to his back, but obviously the haunting of that scene I thought was really great. So Barry shows up, and Barry basically is telling God that I'm prepared to die and I will die to save my family. Obviously, everyone else turns out to be dead. Fuchs just looks at Barry, and of course, Fuchs will not kill him, which I think a lot of people were very mixed on. I'm definitely a big fan of him not doing anything to Barry. No matter what Barry has done, that is his kid, no matter what, for Fuchs' perspective. And no matter, Barry did a lot of wrongs to him, and Fuchs did nothing about it for a specific reason. And I did like that culmination to the end of the season. Obviously, Sally and John go back home, and Barry's like, we'll just go back. And Sally's like, you got to turn yourself in. And Barry's like, God redeemed me. I told him I was going to die, and he spared me. Sally takes John away, thankfully, and Barry thinks they're at Cousineau's house. And this is where Barry gets shot by Cousineau twice. Barry gets killed. We cut to, I think, like a year later or something, and Sally's now a teacher at a high school, drama teacher. And now John is played by Jane Lieber here, which is very funny. But then, Sally gets asked out on a date, and she says very quickly no. But then we get the big thing, which is the movie. Barry's and Sally's son sees the movie that's based on the Barry and Gene Cousineau thing, and it's a really devastating but sometimes authentic way to tell the story. No, not authentic way to tell the story, but in real life, the show ends with basically Cousineau being sentenced to life to prison for the setup of Janice's murder and killing Barry. And then you also have Barry being buried with full honors, which I think if you told me like a month ago if that's how the show would end, I would be, that's probably definitely not was in my thought pattern like a month or even the beginning of the season, that's how it will end. Barry ends up like a hero at the end of the season, and Gene Cousineau's in prison, which I think shows a lot of the time, sometimes even in this country or around the world, this could be the situation, and making a movie out of it can also elevate and show the wrong thing, and it's a good way to end the show. So overall, a fantastic season of Barry. I know it probably won't win tons of things in award season, as it is a dark comedy. I know a dark comedy is not for everyone, but if you're probably watching this video right now, you've probably seen season 4, you probably love this show like me. So overall, fantastic season of Barry. More reviews will come on this channel as well. Ted Lasso season 3 spoiler review will be coming out. Across the Spider-Verse review will be coming out. Box office breakdown show. More videos to come. I'll see you soon.